Last Pint Productions presents The New Way podcast. The New Way contains adult content, as well as spoilers for two of the biggest geek events of all time, Game of Thrones Battle of Winterfell and Avengers Endgame. If you haven't seen either, turn back now. Trust us, it's totally worth it to go in completely blind, Daredevil style. You know, it just occurred to me you're going to think that Daredevil is in Endgame and we just spoiled it, but we didn't. I mean, he might be in it, he might not. But you'll know after this podcast, so listener discretion is advised.
Time doesn't work that way. Changing the past doesn't change the future.
Look, we go back, we get the stones before Thanos gets them. Thanos doesn't have the stones. Problem solved.
Bingo.
That's not how it works.
Oh, that's what I heard.
Wait, but who? Who told you that?
Star Trek, Terminator, Time Cop, Time After Time, Quantum Leap, Wrinkle in Time, Somewhere in Time,
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Hot Tub Time Machine, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Basically any movie that deals with time travel.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me and make it.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello and welcome to an action-packed comic book style drop down, drag out fight edition of a dropping out of school edition of the New Way podcast, coming to you from Boynton Beach, Florida.
Never sound like you just said a bunch of random words.
It's called Word Salad. I learned it from Eve 6, and I think I did a fantastic job, just as they did on their seminal album. So, you know how much I love my Eve 6. This is the New Way.
Favorite band.
I'm in studio with Ben Wilson, and we have actually summoned from beyond the grave. We drew a pentagram and
Studio 2. Studio 2. Hey man, give me my fucking monitor over there on the West Coast. What we got going on over there?
we have a special guest, but he's not a guest because he's one of us. It's Mr. Nick Santa Croce coming to us all the way from LA. How's it going, Nick?
Hey everybody! It's I like to call it Last Pint West Studios.
Last Pint West. I like this.
It's a desk in my room.
I said
with a framed picture of Freddie Mercury as Jesus.
Studio 2. Wait, I thought it was a framed picture of us.
It's Studio 69.
Well, I need to get that. Yeah, it's Studio 69
on the Sunset Strip out on the West Coast. So we have
send me a framed photo of us and I'll put it up there.
But
and sign it.
I will sign it with my penis.
The only difference is that every other kind of production studios, you move west, you get better, and. And this one just sounds a little bit pissed off. No, I'm just joking with you. I'm just joking. Hey, this is great. Like Nick just said, he's in his office. He's in his office.
Just tearing us apart.
I'm not tearing anybody apart. Matt has too nice of a setup.
You're tearing me apart.
You get spoiled on this shit.
Hey, listen.
It's true.
There's a lot of technology happening right now.
People don't realize that. Well, I hope you don't realize, any listeners, that if you listen to the first 31 episodes of this show, that they're basically unlistenable because all it was Matt and I leaning in on the mic
with two tin cans, and a string.
And a string.
And now we've extended that string across several states all the way to the West Coast so that we can bring Nick Santa Croce.
At least you don't hear like frogs chirping in the background.
Exactly. And Nick right now sounds 10 times better than anything we ever recorded back then.
This is true. This is very true.
Not everything is better on the West Coast. Time Hop reminded me today of the time I went into Publix and they called hamburgers meatloaf grillers, which is obviously an upgrade over a normal. It's like pre-made.
Wait a minute.
Meatloaf grillers, they call it.
How have I never heard this before?
By the way, I feel like that's the best hip-hop group name of all time with a Z on the end. Meatloaf Grillers.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what it was? I took a picture of it thinking it was hilarious, and then I don't think I had service in the Publix, so I didn't send it to you, and it just floated in my phone in limbo until Time Hop reminded me today.
That is insanity. It really is. Yeah. Meatloaf Grillers. It really is a great rap. It is really a great white guy rap group. It is our rap group. If there were three of us did a rap group, we would be Meatloaf Grillers.
I like it.
First track, Buds.
Our rhyme sizzles because we're grilling. Okay, so that's enough. So moving on to something even worse than meatloaf grillers, in honor of having Nick back. And by the way, Nick, I actually did want to talk about this, and I can't pin it entirely on you for requesting, but we promised to give Nick at least 5 minutes of discussion.
I requested 20 to 25 minutes to get all of the minutia.
And we're giving you 5. But Nick, why don't you tell us about your favorite trailer of the week?
My favorite terrible trailer of the week goes to, of course, and who else could it be? Sonic the Hedgehog. Which, I mean, look, unless we get a Raul Julia-esque performance like he was Bison in the otherwise terrible Street Fighter film, there's no way that this could be this could be a good movie, right? I mean, is it a movie you can drink a bunch of beers and have fun?
We need to name the actors. People that have not seen the trailer.
That's also revisionist history because Raul Julia is pretty terrible in Street Fighter. He's just awesomely bad.
He was also like dying during that. But so to bring
his
our
last
audience,
role was Bison.
No, just to bring our audience up to speed. There is a live action Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Live action being kind
up
of
to speed. It is live-ish action with James Marsden as a human-looking person.
Just think of the 2019 Sonic the Hedgehog version of Yogi Bear from 2010 with T.J. Miller.
Yeah, the design on Sonic is pretty terrible, but there is Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik.
I have to draw an analogy to my beloved Baltimore Orioles. Oof. They had one of the best logos ever, and the cartoon bird on the caps, and it was great. And then at some point they decided, what would be better? Then we resonate more with the fans in ornithological. Man, I should never have attempted that, but I went for it. Like a big swing.
Ornithological?
They put a textbook, like a science textbook Oriole, with all the right proportions on the cap, and it looked like a screen cap of a nature Instagram, and that was our logo for years. How did Sega think that making it more realistic and human-like, the cartoon hedgehog, was going to be embraced by fans?
Does Sega still exist? Is Sega?
Sega still exists. Yeah,
they're a game publisher. They don't make consoles anymore.
Okay.
They're actually a pretty good game publisher. Actually,
so they must. What sort of death wish do they have? Because the design is. I don't know which is the more blue demonish between Aladdin and Sonic.
Well, so
I kind of want to see them fight.
First off, let me come from a little bit of a gamer side here. Sonic had multiple iterations, and when you got into Sonic 3D, actually the Sonic the Hedgehog from the movie, the animated version, kind of looks like the Sonic from Sonic 3D. So I wouldn't say that they actually it wasn't like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stretch, the Michael Bay stretch that they did with that. Yeah,
he has teeth. It's the same thing as the nostrils on the turtles.
Not really.
His teeth.
And I mean, did Jaleel White even get a phone call? You think? Did Steve Urkel even get an email?
Look, first of all, I will not put any blame on the national treasure of Ben Schwartz.
Oh, and by the way, actually, he did have teeth in Sonic 3D.
He did.
He would smile at the camera. Yeah, he would smile. Yeah,
weird.
I don't know. He always had teeth.
No, they've been talking. Everything I've been reading online has been talking about how the teeth is one of the major things that's messing up how his mouth works and all the shit. And that the game didn't have teeth.
Well, how does he?
I've been reading a lot of Reddit on this.
How does he eat his enemies?
He doesn't eat his enemies. He eats coins and shits them out.
Matt
doesn't eat them.
But this has always been canon. He can really move. He's got an attitude, and he eats the flesh of his enemies after he fells them.
and he shits them out for breakfast.
What this property really needs is a Chris Nolan reboot, a dark reboot where
I would totally watch that.
You know what?
With Tom Hardy as Sonic, and you can't understand him. It'd be perfect.
I think we're on to something here. Actually,
so it's really funny. I watched this trailer. I'm pretty sure I watched this trailer on the John like Monday morning or Tuesday morning, whenever it came on.
I watched it at work.
And I was
what did Reinsvold think about that?
And I had no idea that Jim Carrey was in this movie. Like I remember hearing about the movie. I just for some reason had forgotten that Jim Carrey was in it at all. So when he shows up, I'm just like, what? And then I had this brief glimmer of like, oh, maybe it's like they're gonna lean into this like bizarro fucking weird
and then
thing.
they're like, hey, Jim Carrey, act like you were in the 90s.
Yeah, and then it turned, and I'm like, but my initial reaction at the end of it was like, oh, I think this is gonna be like a wonderful hate watch, like a crazy mess of a movie.
It's a movie for kids, man. It's gonna be rated PG.
Those kids don't know that fucking game. They could give a shit about it. It's a movie
I'm
for
just
us.
telling you,
it's a movie for us.
That is not a movie for us. That is not a movie
They
made
wouldn't
for us.
know a hill zone from a zit on their ass,
Well,
man, and you know
I also
it.
love all the arguments on Reddit are like, where's Tails? I understand Knuckles not being in it, but Tails? Come on. Obviously, Knuckles is the sequel tease, but you have Tails in this one. I'm like, wow.
It's funny to me when you see, and I think you can blame Nintendo for this, but you see a terrible Sega movie, and you're like, how did it get past the boardroom? You know, when you think about Nintendo after the
Magnum opus of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, the abysmal John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins vehicle, Mario Brothers, they vowed never, ever to license their characters ever again. And Sega's like, you know what? Yeah, just go ahead and run with that. Run with that.
But Sega has nothing to lose from this. Like Sonic isn't a property. Like when Mario Brothers was done, that was still a big property. So that was a fucking disaster for them. It was a disaster. Versus right now, no kid knows Sonic, so it'll probably get some kids will like it. They'll get interest in it. They'll make another Sonic game to tie into the fucking movie, and they'll make their money for Sega.
Yeah, a little bit of money. That's there really is nothing to lose at this point, because I think that they're thinking enough adults will probably go see it who played the game. But a lot of kids are going to go see it because obviously, if you watch it, they're appealing to kids. That's what they're doing.
I would prefer they would have just done Talladega Nights verbatim, but just replaced Ricky Bobby with Sonic and done that as the movie. I think that would have been a perfect fucking movie.
And that's the whole reason why I was like, I was just going to make a joke just because it obviously is a very bad trailer and it looks like it's not going to be a good movie. And I'm just like, but it's kind of funny that I'm like, well, you know what? A lot of probably young kids are going to go see that and they're going to be like, oh, that Dr. Robotnik's really funny or whatever. And just going to be like, oh, it's Jim Carrey, like in that 5-picture, stretch of him doing that.
And the kids will be like, Jim who?
Jim who? Exactly. And so now all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, well, that guy's funny.
This is like the simulacrum, like the nexus of nostalgia movies, that everything about this movie is built around nostalgia of people from the 90s that are going to hate it, but it's going to win for all of these kids that don't know anything about the 90s. So why would they even have cast? Why spend the money on Jim Carrey?
Like this, like the new Star Wars trilogy. I think that they would learn from Dragon Ball Z, man. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Nick.
That's okay, buddy. We all love Dragon Ball Z too. But you look at the bulk of Jim Carrey in the trailer. He looks different. He has a mustache, but it's not the long, wild mustache that we've grown.
There's the hint at the end.
Well, Robotnik also had a red mustache. I was pretty sure.
Right. You're right. Okay. So then there is a sort of you know how Marvel had the after movie sequences. Now trailers are teasing with just like, you know, that
the stinger.
One look at the stinger of the one look at the really the character everyone's looking forward to. And then they do show Robotnik or Dr. Eggman or whoever he is in the classic costume, and he looks dead on. He's bald, he has a big red mustache, he's got the goggles, he looks exactly like the game. So if they cared about it at all to make that accurate, why did they make Sonic the way they made him? It's just like the Bay Ninja Turtles. It just doesn't make any sense.
I think these guys get into a room and they're like, we're leaning into nostalgia, and then some like millennial or someone younger gets nervous, and they get at some point they get nervous and they go, you know what? We can't go with the classic. We can't. We've got to update this. It's got to be updated. We're not going for. We need to make this new and hipper and fresher. And I think that happens every time. Yeah, he's got to wear normal sized tennis shoes instead of his big normal like cartoony shoes. It's the same thing with like what happens in Aladdin. Like, oh, what do we do? Well, we got to make sure that he looks like Will Smith because that's why people are going. Like, no one's going to Aladdin for fucking Will Smith. Don't make the genie look like Will Smith. It's a terrible idea. I think it's like maybe it's the same person in every one of these meetings.
Apparently, a lot of people at Netflix thought that Will Smith was the reason people watched Bright because he just got paid $35 million. $35 million to be in Bright 2. Holy!
I still have not watched Bright 1, despite Nick's lauding of that film, but I've still not seen it.
I was on a plane and I enjoyed it. All right. But listen, before we move on,
I'm on a plane.
God
I
damn it.
can't complain.
Nick, we have given you exactly 14 minutes on this, so your closing thoughts.
It's going to be worth it. You said that they made this film for children.
Yes.
So Sonic is for the children, is what you're saying.
He's for the children.
It's for the children. When did you play Sonic the Hedgehog? When was the last time you played Sonic the Hedgehog?
Well,
Nick?
if Sonic loves the children so much, riddle me this. In the trailer, Sonic lets off an EMP, okay? And it's powerful enough to knock out electronics on the entire Pacific Northwest.
I don't think he realized that happened, though.
He doesn't. He's not. It's not on purpose. He's just fast.
But he does.
Yeah,
and
it's by
according to
accident.
Go Northwest, the area has a population of around 15 million. Bumper Veal estimates that over 3 million, almost 4 million babies are born every year in the United States. Using statistics from Bliss, it is estimated that about 1 in 7 babies in the UK require a neonatal unit upon their birth.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. You're not even letting me finish? That's a lot of stats.
Neonatal units are powered by backup.
Right, exactly. So when you talk about the United States, Northwest holds approximately 4.5% of the U.S. population, translating to 25,576 babies.
It's a bit.
Yeah. Where are you? Did you disappear?
When EMP,
hello?
when he set off that EMP. Hello?
Yeah.
We're here.
Continue.
He went for a dramatic pause, and we thought
A
you
lot
got
of pauses.
disconnected.
Yeah, you can't do dramatic pauses with this equipment.
I refuse to give up my dramatic pause. This is what it's all come to, gentlemen. When Sonic let off that EMP,
Oh God.
he killed 491 babies. 491 babies. Someone did the math.
Of course they did. Of course, someone spent the
Which is
time
fake
to
math.
do the math.
Sonic is a baby killer.
I think that this is going to play really well into the rest of our discussion.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, totally worth that extra minute and a half, Nick. Anyway,
You know what? You know what? Seriously,
Oh God.
fuck off. He killed almost 500 babies.
All right.
Someone did the math. You know the
Okay.
guys.
Well, first of all, those
I'm gonna
babies
love
aren't
that.
buying tickets to Sonic. They're not of the right age. We're talking about children, not babies. So yeah, kill off
Sonic
those
is
babies. He
a
doesn't
mass
care.
baby murderer. I bring
So?
you this information, and
Good.
you
Now I
and
want
you
to see
shit
it
on
even.
it.
Now I want to see it even more. I like it, Dark Sonic. That's a Nolan Sonic right there. Baby killer Sonic. I like it.
fair.
I like that bastard. All right. So we got to move on to our next topics here. So this is, even though in the preamble that I've actually already recorded, that you've heard, this is your final alert for spoilers, for the rest of this podcast.
What?
We are going to spoil 2 gigantic things that happened this week, somehow on the same weekend. One is Game of Thrones, The Battle of Winterfell, which just premiered on Sunday evening on
believe The Long Night
on
is the name of
HBO.
the
The Long Night is the name of the episode. If you are watching Game of Thrones, you've not seen Battle of Winterfell or Long Night, please tune out right now and come back after you watch it. And the second thing we are going to get into massive spoilers about is Avengers Endgame, which is why this episode has been titled The Endgame of Thrones. Yes, with a big ol' spoiler alert also in the title of the episode. So I want to make sure we do not ruin either of these things. I urge you, I've watched both of them. I think that I think both will still work if you're spoiled a little bit, but it is so much more fun to go into these things as blind as you can, and I think it really pays off. So we're going to start off first with Game of Thrones, The Long Night.
Wait, hold on,
Oh,
Matt.
what a night.
What did you call the episode again?
I was just saying the Battle of Winterfell.
No, what are you calling our episode here?
Oh,
What did you call-
the End Game of Thrones.
That's really good, and I just wanted to give you credit for that addition.
Thank you. I
And
thought
not-
of that 10
and
minutes
not-
ago.
And I want you to be able to make all the dramatic pauses you want. I want to give
Okay.
you fair credit for bringing some good material to the.
Well,
to the
thank
podcast.
you for
Very
telling
good.
us that Sonic kills babies. So we should know this. And
Thank you.
everyone out
That's
there,
so hard.
everyone boycott Sega and Sonic as part of the Me Too movement. He kills babies, and he knows it. So let's.
I kill babies and I know it.
We fucking spend 18 goddamn minutes on Sonic. You got what you wanted, Nick. God damn
I wanted
it.
20
I knew you
to
were
25
gonna.
minutes.
I knew you were
Remember,
gonna get it.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting there trying. I was like, "How can we come up with wrap-up questions about this topic?" And we literally do
Yeah.
spend 18 minutes
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
Sonic the fucking Hedgehog.
And it's like, yeah, we need some more things to pad out this episode. I'm like, okay, well, we spent 20 on Sonic. How long are we going to spend on Thrones and Endgame? But okay,
Throwing you motherfuckers from 3,000 miles away.
let's get to the Game of Thrones, because this was a very polarizing episode, as the interwebs would have me
Strangely
believe.
enough. Imagine that.
And I'm kind of curious in this room. So I watched this episode with Ben, but we didn't really talk about it very much. And Nick, we've not talked to you about it at all. So I guess the first
I'm real
question,
excited.
Nick, what is your overall feeling of the episode? Is it overall positive? Is it overall mixed? Or is it overall negative?
For both Endgame and Game of Thrones, it's overall very good. I loved them both.
Excellent. And what about you, Ben?
Overall, well, see, here's the thing. If I say overall positive for both, I feel like I'm communicating something a little bit different than what I feel.
Okay.
And I mean for both.
Okay.
Which I'll get into. But the thing is upon reflection, and especially when I start seeing people post stuff online
yeah.
and start getting into these bickering fucking battles that make no sense and absolutely completely reflect the climate that people are in today.
Sure.
I was just like, fuck you. Stop and enjoy.
Yes.
And so, yes, positive on both sides for me.
And so I've watched both of these twice.
I agree with that, man.
Yeah, I've watched both of these twice. I will say that for Thrones, there was a little bit of a law of diminishing returns for me on the episode, but it was the same things that I had issues with watching it originally.
Right.
And it's not most of the things that most of the other people had issues other than the darkness of the episode, which we will definitely get into, I'm sure.
Right.
Endgame, I'm much more 100% positive on, and it sucks also to have both of these happen so close to one another, because it is very difficult to really distance them and watch them separate. And I saw Endgame first, and it really, you go into Game of Thrones with the weight of a pretty monumental movie and series on your
that's
chest.
that point I have to make in a little bit, but that's going to be towards the end of it. But so as far as Game of Thrones, if we're really focusing on Game of Thrones here, I think that the real interesting thing was expectation. Which I feel like a lot of people really seemed to meet. Like some people were just like, I mean, I saw a lot of really like just overtly positive feedback.
Sure.
Where it was like nothing was going to really spoil this for them. And I get that because it's led for a long time. Now, one of the things I find interesting is that when you actually think about it, even with the precedent that, and I hate to bring it, like we'll get to Marvel in a minute, but even when you think of the precedent of all of the Marvel movies that have led up to this universe, Game of Thrones still has a longer running time.
Yes.
So Game of Thrones has actually given us more content than the Marvel universe has. And that precedent that had been set, I think for a lot of people feel like, including myself, that Game of Thrones is probably one of the best produced shows of all time. So I don't know what I was expecting going into the episode, but I tried to temper my expectations, and I found myself at certain moments completely enthralled. I thought that it was absolutely brilliant. I didn't get into the tactics.
So you could see it?
Hey, we had the lights down low. I felt like I could see it pretty well.
I will say
I did too.
From my standpoint, I think it is the best second act of a TV series I've ever seen. I think I read, and there was a bit that the guys talked about. There's a 48-minute making of this episode that they released.
Yeah.
They've been doing this actually for every episode of the season, releasing these mini documentaries afterwards, and they're fucking phenomenal to watch. No matter what you feel about the episode.
Yeah.
But they talked about how this episode is 3 acts. The first act is a suspense movie.
The
second act's a horror movie, and the third act's an action film. And I really do respect that. I think that some of those swings worked better than others. I think the suspense was mired in darkness, and I understand that they do different color schemes to do fire. So there's orange on some, and there's blue on some, and I get that they want you to feel the chaos of it. For me, the episode did not gel until that second bit with Arya in the room with the White Walkers.
Some people think the exact opposite.
You know, and that's where I feel the most at odds with the community at large that I have seen out there, and that I literally put for what I liked and what I didn't like. What I liked, I just put Arya 3 times, and what I didn't like, I put Dark 3 times. And that really boils down the episode for me pretty close. And I have maybe 1 or 2 other moments that I thought were really, really effective. But I mean, I think for me, Arya worked on every level. And I know that's what a lot of people hated the most about the episode, is that Arya is the savior on this, and a lot of people seem to have a major problem with that.
I was hoping that Arya was going to hide in a aluminum kitchen cabinet and use her reflection trick the White Walker into jumping into it, knocking itself out.
Yes, that's very nice. That was a weird tangent, but I do like that.
Josh Burgess drew the analogy between the Jurassic Park raptor kitchen scene and Arya and the White Walkers, and it totally tracks.
I mean, there's a bit where a White Walker turns and his hair blows as he's noticing something, and they've been building up this character for her ability to be stealthy and a killer and cold.
She's only been training for since season 1.
And I love that everyone's like, well, it should have been John. Like, what is John's training? Okay, what is John's special skill?
The reason why everyone wanted it to be John is because everyone wants John to be Azor Ahai. They want him to be the savior of the Lord of Light, and he's the one who brings the end of darkness. He's the chosen one. The fact that he's brought back to life doesn't make him Azor Ahai. It still means that the god of light, or the god of of fire or whatever, had to bring him back in order for him to make something work. None of the people who were brought back, including Barrick, 7 times or whatever, however many times he was brought back, none of them, if they had not been brought back some of those times, then Arya wouldn't have ended up where she was at the end. So the end game, and that's like what you said. I read a little bit of stuff online between like you and Johnny.
Yeah.
Like the Deus Ex Machina, that is absolutely no bearing to me whatsoever on this episode.
And not a Mary Sue either.
It's absolutely not.
No. I think actually, and to be honest, really for me, John is much more of the Mary Sue type thing in this. I like John's arc. I like seeing John grow, but John is not.
John's kind of dumb, too.
There's no like major training for anything. I love that fucking John and Danny sit up in the fucking clouds and they can't figure out how to even fucking work the dragons for the episode. Like the moments for me that I really liked, other than Arya, were kind of taking the piss out of John and Danny. And I especially the moment I loved most of John's is his trudging up as he's going eventually to get to fight where he's about to get screwed by the dragon, the White Walker dragon, is him ignoring all of his friends and loved ones who are looking like they're being killed. They're about to be killed. And he just ignores them as he's on a mission. He has one drive to him. And I thought it was the one moment of John that actually made some really good fucking sense. And it's a shitty thing to watch him look at Sam drowning in a sea of White Walkers and be like, well, you're not my mission, Sam. Like there are more important things than you and all of these other fucking characters that I know and these people. I have to go do this thing. I thought that was great. That was the one moment. I could also see what was happening a little bit on there. But so I want to get some more from Nick on kind of your feelings on this, because you've been obviously a huge Game of Thrones fan for a while, and those of you out there could Google Sons of Mim and speculate if you want to see some really good Game of Thrones parody work by Nick. But what was how did you feel?
Nice little plug.
What did you not like? What did you like? What was your kind of overall thoughts on this?
Well, while I get the Deus Ex Machina complaint, honestly, they set it up extremely linearly if you watch it. Mm-hmm. In fact, the people that I was watching with literally said, wait, there's Arya. Where's Arya? A few minutes before the final blow came. And I'd say that there have been a few of those in the show, but, almost in reverse. Almost.
You there?
Oh, hello?
In the machine.
Oh, we lost you for a second.
How many times has victory seemed assured, and then something really terrible happens out of nowhere to advance the more negative plot point?
You just hit on the exact same thing that I said to Johnny. I said that Game of Thrones.
I was reading it. I part of your comment, and I was reading it word for word.
Yeah, that is true. That's what Game of Thrones does.
Well, I think that honestly, there is a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina in both Endgame and The Long Night. But you're right; they definitely did leave enough breadcrumbs. We see her training with Brienne doing the dagger switch, and she has been training pretty much the whole series. I think that the more I thought about it, I thought, well, what if they just switch the library scene, and instead of the rows of books, those are trees, and we see her making her way towards the action. Would that make more sense? But then it would take away from
the
that
weirwood's
great
only
shot.
one tree.
What's that?
The weirwood's only the one tree.
I hear what you're saying, Nick. I think you're getting to the same point.
But while she's in the castle, I mean, we show her making her way somewhere outside. Then it's not just holy shit, there's Arya flying through the air, right?
But you have the whole after she has the whole thing.
I think he's getting there. I think he's getting there.
I think I'm getting there. I think I'm getting there too. We'll see.
I can tell you're getting there. I want to let you go. Go.
Thank you, Matt. That's good intuition. I am getting there. But then it shows its hand, and I think that one of my favorite things after the episode dropped was the reaction videos. We saw all those Red Wedding viral videos that went crazy viral of people just losing their shit during that betrayal. But it's been so fun to watch footage of giant groups watching the scene where Arya kills the Night King, and just the pure jubilant. I mean, it was a big moment, and the best shot is where you.
Oop, we lost you.
It's
Nick,
LA Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so you cut out for just a second. Tell us the best shot was, and you cut out.
Oh, the best shot of the whole episode is where the Night King is slowly reaching for his sword, and there's blackness behind him, and then Arya just comes out of the darkness, and all of a sudden you see her. There's like a great white shark through murky water. All of a sudden she's there, and it catches her. If we see her moving through the forest or moving outside of the castle, I think it shows your hand a little bit, and that shot isn't as effective.
No, and you said the same thing. It was exactly what I saw with Ben. Like Ben, literally, we're out there. Theon's like sacrificing himself.
Yeah,
and Ben's like, "Where's Arya? What the fuck's going on with Arya?" Like literally, like saying out loud, like, "What the fuck is going on with Arya?" And I'm like, by the way, I'm dumb as shit while I'm watching it. I'm absorbed. And I'm like, fuck you. I don't care what's going on with Arya. I'm watching what's going on. I'm not even reading into what he's saying and being like, okay, this is obviously building towards something with her. There's no reason to take her off screen for this amount of time. And it's all cuts with Jon. Because they're building the whole cut back to Jon.
Meanwhile, Jon's in the Tri-Wizard Challenge. And he's sitting there like fighting a fucking, like running behind walls as blue dragon fire, ice dragon fire is flying all over the place, stuff like that. And I immediately, like right there, I knew, I was like, something is going to happen that either basically ends the war for the North on the bad side, but I was like, Arya's going to get away. As soon as she had that talk with Melisandre, I was just like, I know that she's getting away. She's going to end up being a very important part of this story one way or another. And so that's the reason when it gets to the end and they haven't shown her for 20 minutes at this point, I'm like, where's Arya? Arya's about to show up. Arya's about to do something.
So I want to kind of.
I thought Loki was going to show up with the Tesseract.
That would have been amazing with just the dagger for her, like a new dagger. So I want to kind of pivot just a little bit towards looking towards the future of Game of Thrones, because I know, Nick, you and I had a talk last year about where we thought this last season was going to go, and we weren't in disagreement. We just kind of had different ideas of like what would be more satisfying for us. So, and
I remember this conversation.
Yeah, and this is, and really what's happened is exactly what you said. And you were right to understand kind of, I think, where the show was going with it. And my initial thought last year was that I kind of had this fan idea that the first battle would be the battle for the throne, and it would deplete everyone down to almost nothing, to where the White Walkers then come through and they demolish everything, and maybe we win at the very last minute, but there's nothing left. And basically the end of the series is a new civilization being rebuilt.
It has to be rebuilt.
And probably a nod to the fact that history is going to repeat itself and this cycle is going to go.
You and I also agree with this as well. Yeah.
And I think that
but you were wrong.
No. And Nick was 100% correct. And it's interesting to watch the reaction.
It's not called Game of White Walkers, y'all.
Well, and that's what's funny.
I've seen that.
Because I've seen a lot of derision online as well of people being like, well, this is it. This is the end of White Walkers. We had all these mystery and all these questions. And I'm like, I'm like, there's one of two ways this show can go. It can either be the Game of Thrones to the letter and be like, this is a Game of Thrones, and by the end of this series, someone is going to be fucking on the Iron Throne, and not fucking on the Iron Throne. Well, maybe
Jaime and Cersei,
maybe fucking on the Iron Throne. If we're Jaime
or
and
Arya, now that she's gotten the hang of it.
oh, that's a fucking. Well, that was great. Oh, that was a fucking layup right there.
That was
man.
worth all the technology to get Nick on this show right there. Yeah, I mean, I think it is very interesting for the future of these next 3 episodes. And that's the other thing, though. I don't think it's unlike Endgame, which was the end of a saga. It is also hard to judge this episode without knowing where they're going. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 episodes.
Point. That was my whole point.
I do.
Is that I don't think that I have a feeling that they knew when they made the decision that they were going to kill the White Walkers off, and then they were going to end it with the actual war that has been brewing for the last 7 seasons. I feel like they got something a little bit more Games of Thrones in store. the stuff that the first 6 seasons of precedent set. I feel like we are going to see a couple of people who we really don't expect to die at this point die.
Sure.
Well, I'll tell you what. I've been thinking about this, and back when I had this conversation with you, Matt, I really, in all the death pools that my friends are doing, I had Arya killing the Night King. It just made sense to me, but because I believe she's going to die. And I believe that by making Arya the one who finally kills the Night King and not Jon Snow, it pretty much makes it inevitable that Arya is going to die.
She dies
ingloriously.
but she has to finish her list, right?
But her list doesn't matter anymore. See, that's how, you're much more about the list, Ben, than I think.
She's only got 2 people left on the list.
But she's not going after the Hound, obviously.
And one of them is the big boss.
What if the Hound dies defending her?
The people that didn't like that the White Walkers were done so fast, I think don't like the idea of Cersei being the big boss. Mm-hmm. But like, who has been the bigger, baddest boss the entire series? It's always been Cersei. It always had to be Cersei. Cersei's on the list, and how I see Arya dying is sort of similar to the Night King. While we didn't see her sneaking up in the Night King, in this version we do. We see her take down all these guards. She's going through King's Landing like a hot knife through butter, stealthily, skillfully. She's going to be on just the doorstep of victory with Cersei, about to plunge the knife. She has no idea that Arya's there, and the Mountain's going to come out from nowhere and just kill her
And then the Hound kills the Mountain?
Maybe. I feel
that's been confirmed, by the way. The Hound Mountain showdown is happening at one point.
What are you saying confirmed? What the fuck are you doing? Are you
game
spoiling
ball.
shit?
I'm just saying that there have been set photos. They
I know,
released these photos.
What the fuck are you saying?
They released these photos. You knew it was going to happen.
These photos?
They talked about it like 3 years ago, how you had to have the 2 brothers face off at some point.
Fuck, man. I want it to happen, but I haven't seen any set photos. Jesus Christ.
That came out like 3 years ago when they said that had to happen at some point.
Matt, didn't you listen to your spoilers intro
what the
that
fuck?
you made yourself?
I was hoisted by my own petard. This is terrible. I was hoping it would happen, but I didn't know that was going to fucking... What do you mean for 3 years? What set photos
They have been talking about this for years,
Everyone's been talking about wanting it to happen. It doesn't mean it's going to happen.
No, the showrunner said that at some point... the showrunner said at some point that they have to meet again.
Maybe. You don't know what the showrunners are saying. They say all kinds of shit that doesn't actually wind up happening. For God's sake. All right. Forget you all heard that.
That's a fucking spoiler.
That's a spoiler.
It's kind of a spoiler. But here, let me just finish my thought real fast.
It's not a spoiler. You think that the Mountain and the Hound, the 2 people who are fucking related, the brothers that have not fought since season 2, are not going to...
There's no confirmation in the actual show that this is going to happen. You're bringing outside shit into this.
I'm not bringing outside shit into this.
Well, I'm going to spoil some shit for you. Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
This guy ugly.
Some things for you.
Spoil for me.
I'm really glad I'm not in the room with you guys right now. I can sense the sexual.
We're actually making love quietly and wonderfully.
What what I still don't understand what I said wrong because
that's not common knowledge.
It's not common knowledge. There's no official things released by HBO saying that this thing exists and is happening.
There is a picture literally released by one of the actors that shows both of them facing each other down. Is it going to show up in the episode? I don't know, but that's as far as I get. That's a confirmation.
No. I don't like this. Continue going on. No, I think.
Hold on. You don't. Let me finish my thought.
Yes,
this is what I think.
please.
I think Arya is going to just ingloriously die.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking sort of Oberyn.
Yes,
you know?
that's what I'm thinking.
Just,
I agree.
Snap, she's dead, and everyone will just be left to go, what the fuck? She had him. She killed the Night King. What happened? How did she fail here? And the reason is she has to pay a penance. She drank the proverbial fizzy lifting drink, and she abused her power with the Faceless Men, and she has to pay for it.
Well, and she also is going to be cocky now. Like, yeah, I think
exactly.
Her arc makes perfect sense for that to happen.
And she's been cocky since season 3. I mean,
she's good at Dawn.
And this is my fan wish for this. My fan wish is that it comes down to Jaime, and that Jaime is the one that has to take out Cersei, and he has to take her out by killing himself.
Well,
that is the prophecy.
The common fan thing is that Arya kills Cersei to finish her list wearing Jaime's face, which is I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah,
which would be kind of cool, I guess, but it's also kind of
it's way
too
fan service.
Cop out. It would be also just a cop out for me to make it seem like it's Jaime, but I really want it to be Jaime. His arc, I don't know that his arc has better closure than him finally turning his back on the one person he's done all of the terrible things he's done for. Like that to me, that's almost the only way
piercing
it can
his
go.
sister last time.
Other than Theon, obviously, that Jaime is the one who's been on a redemption arc.
Yes,
because you were always designed to like Tyrion as a viewer, and there are lots of other characters like the Hound and people who you're designed to like, but you don't necessarily want to root for.
Sure,
what Martin, even after the fact, when it was D&B, as they were continuing the story, definitely made it out so that Jaime is somebody that you want to root for now that you wanted to hate in the first season.
Yeah.
And so I actually, Nick, I 100% agree with you as far as Arya is concerned. I think that would be a really interesting move. But ultimately, I think that Jaime does have to die, I think, at some point.
Yes.
But
he has to do something of importance before he dies.
He'll get a hero's death.
Yes.
However, Arya will be inglorious because
she's
she
had her moment.
I think that might be a way that they go.
Well, the question after that, by the way, so let's say we get what we want, right, on our little wish list.
Who do you want to win the throne?
I want. That's not what I want, though.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say, because that's interesting to determine. So let's say Jaime dies killing Cersei and Arya dies ingloriously. What's left, and how does that work? Like, so now you've got Jon and Dany.
So the only thing that I could think of, and here's the way that I kind of imagine this story playing out, is that pretty much everyone dies in this battle or whatever.
Oh, that's confirmed. They released photos yesterday.
Yeah, they're all in the Soul Stone, and then Arya snaps her fingers.
Of the two tertiary characters facing down one another. Jesus Christ.
It's confirmed. Everyone dies. Benioff tweeted that today. Spoiler alert.
They die in the next episode, and there's an 80-minute episode of all new characters that are from the new spin-offs. And then we get on board with those, and then we finish the series.
Fear the Game of Thrones.
Confirmed.
From the makers of Fear the Walking Dead.
I like how you're just like, Nick is a big Game of Thrones fan. I was just like, I'm pretty sure I read Song of Ice and Fire back in college.
I'm trying. Look, we don't get a lot of time with Nick on here. I wanted to. Have you made any music videos set to Game of Thrones?
Oh no, Nick is definitely the bigger fan than I am. He's definitely the bigger fan
too. By the way.
Oh no! It didn't. There's no question. I was just throwing some shade there for a second, but there is no question. Being in all seriousness, Nick has all of the Game of Thrones.
I will say a shout out to both Ben and to my buddy Matt Powers, because you were the only two people I knew who had read the books, and I kept bringing you casting information. When we were like, because I didn't know, and I go, oh hey, they're doing this Game of Thrones things, and you're like, oh I've seen. I'm like, they just cast Peter Dinklage as the imp. And in my head, by the way, when I'm picturing this show at that point, it's Narnia. Like, it's not Lord of the Rings.
Right.
It was I'm like, oh, he's the imp. He's the magical, like, fairy creature. And I remember talking to both of you separately because you're two very different human beings in general, but Matt was the only one that had actually read the books and was like, oh, this is actually going to be a really good idea for a TV show. And you're like, oh no, that casting is great. So you do have some roots back there.
I mean, there was a period of time for like 2 months where the background, like the screensaver on my background was when as soon as they cast
Game Bowl.
No, as soon
from
as
that set photo.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. It was facing down from season 8. But no, it was no. But it was
in high school. Ben used to smoke Clegane balls in the parking lot before phys ed.
It was just the contents of a Black and Mild put into a ball. But no, the background of my computer was as soon as they cast Arya and they released the first photo, I was just like, I saw it. And I was just like,
I want to do her.
No,
oh.
Ben sees every photo that is released.
No, but it was released by HBO.
They released what she's going to look like in 10 years. It was confirmed. Confirmed she's going to be hot when she's of age. And they confirmed that early on.
Eyebrows.
It was confirmed. It was confirmed. It was side tit with her and Gendry.
Yeah.
By the way,
guys, listen. Just take a moment to appreciate the fact that we got to see Arya get naked and kill the Night King in like 7 days.
48, yeah. I think, and by the way, again, I urge all of you to go out and see the amazing meme work that people are doing around Game of Thrones. It is unlike anything I've ever seen anywhere. Way better than Marvel or any other shit. People love to meme Game of Thrones. They meme it hard after Sunday night. But I will say the picture of Gendry saying no one saw Arya coming except for this guy is maybe the funniest meme out of all of the memes I think I've seen.
It's funny, but in context, I don't think she did come. I don't mean to.
No. They confirmed
Tom
it.
Hanks'
there was a
big
set
dilemma.
photo. They confirmed it.
She was faking.
Oh no! Did you just bring it back to?
Okay, that's what it was.
Tom Hanks. Oh no! Okay.
I don't imagine Arya climaxed. Is what I believe.
Well,
and
good thing she
release
didn't
some
die
photos
then.
from the set to confirm
set
that.
Photos confirm climax.
And this is where we go with
We'll
Nick
get on
the
Benioff and Weiss to find that out. But yeah.
Anyways, so I'm interested in the rest of the show.
Yes.
Obviously, we'll see how it ties up, and we'll talk about it. Yeah, give it a shot.
I guess I'll keep watching.
Just kind of sit there and maybe if there's not like Sunday night, basketball on or something, then I'll watch it.
Basketballs.
Yes, we're in the playoffs now.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Sports balls. All right, so let's pivot over. Let's
wait. Can we do theories before we move over?
Sure.
Okay,
quick.
So you got
Very
my
fast.
Arya prediction. She's gonna die.
What happens to Samwell?
Go ahead.
What happens to Samwell?
Oh, he lives. No one cares about him, so he'll live.
Oh my god! What? Why?
I think that Arya is definitely going to die in an assassination attempt on Cersei to finish her list. It's kind of but not to save everyone. It's kind of a vanity thing. That's why she will poetically fail there. I believe that they have been hinting at two women, and I think it's going to be a woman on the throne when it's said and done. Knowing what George R.R. Martin,
Missandei,
Sansa.
He's said in the past, that it was such a dark time for women, but if they were in power, it wouldn't have been a shitty time. So I believe this is, and Josh Burgess talked with me about this too, so I'm stealing a lot of his ideas. I got to give him credit. But it only makes sense. The really strongest characters are women in this, and it's been like that since the beginning. But you look at Sansa, you mentioned Sansa, Ben, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that Sansa's going to play a role in turning Dany and Jon against each other. Because as much as she hates Cersei, she's picked up a lot from her, and in a demented way respects her. And maybe she doesn't even know the multitude of what she's gleaned from her being tortured and stuck in King's Landing for so.
We lost you.
Okay. It's weird. It drops every once in a while for like 5 seconds and it comes back.
Yeah.
But anyway,
only when you say something important.
Yeah, they've been hinting that Sansa's got an edge too. She's getting darker and darker and darker, and Tyrion kind of says, everyone who's underestimated you is dead. And I think that she's going to see that Jon and Dany are in a real rough patch. There's going to be some real trouble in paradise coming up soon because she knows that he's the rightful heir, being a man, and that's not going to go over well with her. They've also been.
She doesn't know that yet, though.
Yeah, she doesn't, but she will.
Know that.
But she will.
John told her before the battle.
He told Sansa?
No, he didn't.
Sorry, not Sansa.
He told Dany. Yeah.
I'm talking about now that Dany knows that's not going to go over well with her. The
No,
fact that
right,
he's
but
rightful heir.
She already doesn't like it. Yeah.
And they have really been telegraphing this. I feel, especially the past couple episodes. They go, Dany is not her father. She is not the Mad King. She is different. Jon sticks up for her. Tyrion sticks up for her. Well, guess what? She's going to be the Mad Queen. This is going to be what drives her over the ledge. The problem with Dany is she gets so full of rage and she's so reckless, it puts her in jeopardy. So here we are. We're going to be at King's Landing. Things are going to be bubbling over with Dany and Jon at that point. I think Dany will be starting to think about ways to kill him before it's all said and done, but they're in battle with Cersei. Cersei, it's in the one place that can kill a dragon, the one place that has the technology to kill a dragon. So Cersei has that, a well-rested army. And Sansa never liked Dany. I think at that point she's going to start to turn them against each other right when they sort of need to be unified the most in sort of a master move. Maybe she thinks there's a way that she can be the last Stark standing. At any rate, I kind of hope that it's not going to be Jon and Dany hand in hand ushering a new. I think
there's no way it's both of it's. I think there's no way that it's both of them.
No,
I think there has to be one or the other. If it's going to be,
I hope
neither
it's Cersei.
or neither.
Yes,
I hope it's an evil Lannister when it's all said and done. I want this whole journey to be like just for that. It would be so dark and awful.
That is a real hot take to say that at the end of this, it is Cersei that comes out on top of all of it, and it
makes sense.
That
makes
is
sense.
also
Jon and Dany
very
are going to
interesting.
be odds. She can kill a dragon. She has a well-rested army. She's holding all the power.
Do you
as long
think?
As it doesn't fuck up.
What do you think? I'm curious on this. So if I'm a showrunner, right, and like the three of us are in a room right now pitching ideas for this final season, we don't have George R.R. Martin necessarily to fall back on. We have our ability. I mean, they have been given some information from him.
They spent like 3 days in a hotel room with George R.R. Martin mapping out the rest of the show.
Tons of stuff. So, but let's just say for shits and giggles. We kind of have carte blanche to end the series how we want to end the series. Do we think? And by the way, we know the only thing that is possibly marred by the end of this show are these spin-offs that we're going to attempt to do. But let's just say in general, we're allowed to end the show however the fuck we want. We can pull a Lost and end a show that is polarizing, but it's how we wanted to end it. It's on our terms. And who the fuck cares? At that point, the show's done and over. And it doesn't matter. The ratings don't matter anymore after the finale, right? So we put Cersei on the throne. What do you think the fan reaction is to Cersei winning the Game of Thrones?
I think you have some disownment, but I think you also have some people who probably embrace it. So,
I think ultimately you embrace it because we've been dealing with.
I mean, I'm just saying you would have fans that disown it. I mean, you would have like.
Really?
Percentage of fans that completely disown the series. Absolutely.
First of all, there's going to be a percentage of fans that if it's any female on the throne, they're going to not like it.
It's absolutely the most. It checks all the boxes for me. It's still a woman at the end.
You're not. You're not the normal fan.
Do you not see how angry people are about Arya killing the Night King
as
opposed to Jon? Like
they're
fucking losing their shit. Stupid. I mean, they really are losing their shit. But
I don't know. I don't want to go. I don't want to go too far out on a limb for those neckbeards, but I don't know if it's so much a gender thing and they just want Jon to be the one. I think it's because they believe Jon was Azor Ahai, and that's the prophecy, and it's going against the canon of the book. I think that's what upset them.
Actually, Arya's Azor Ahai, apparently. So
we don't know. It's interesting. I don't know.
She is now.
No, it's a good question you raised, Nick, and I don't know the answer. It really seemed to me the backlash against the Arya thing was very much the fact that it was this female and it was not Jon Snow. It really everything just kind of like if and it really and then people are fucking writing articles about
Jon Snow,
about her being like a Mary Sue. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Jon Snow is so much. All right, let's put it out this way: if it was a fight between Jon Snow and Arya, Arya wins every fucking. All right, put it this way: she's more like Endgame. 14 million times Jon Snow loses that battle. There's one time that Jon Snow beats Arya. And that involves some sort of weird time travel.
On that note, we should talk about Endgame because we've been talking about Game of Thrones for too long.
Calm down. I told you we're gonna stretch these ones out for sure. But yeah, I look. I think we have 3 episodes to go.
Yeah, we have more to talk about. We have more to talk about,
and we're gonna talk about this more in a few weeks for sure. But let's move on to Avengers Endgame, that made me smile ear to ear and weep tears of joy and sadness at varying times through it. In a way I did not expect entirely to be.
Yes, you expected that. You're like Kevin Smith. You're like, you don't expect that, but you expected it.
You never.
I knew. I was watching.
You never fucking know.
I watched that movie enjoying more how I knew you were going to react to the movie than I enjoyed the movie, which is kind of funny.
The only thing more certain than shank tears was a Clegane pull.
Okay, there were set photos of me crying during Endgame. Both times I went and watched it.
You were right there with the Hound and the mountain.
So I want to, before we get into our kind of our.
Oh, you had a little mountain in that movie.
I did. It was, and that made me cry even harder. But so I want to ask you guys a couple of questions as we kind of dive into this one. So, Nick, for you, what was the most unexpected thing that happened in Avengers Endgame for you? What was the one thing you were like, fuck, I never saw that coming in a million years?
They convinced me that Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit.
I did pull that clip, by the way. I did, if you want to hear it, hold on. I got to pull one other thing out. It's kind of weird how this shit goes, but let me try it this way. Here you go.
How did you pull?
Nope, not that one. Hold on a second.
How did you...
Sorry.
How did you pull the sound clip so fast?
I have a full set of sound clips from this movie, so fuck all of you all. But here you go, Nick.
So Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit?
Yeah, that is... so yeah.
Well, I think maybe one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie happens very early on.
I was about to say, is Nick going to completely agree with me about the most unexpected thing?
I don't know if it was unexpected per se, but when they kill retired Thanos, when Thor kills retired Thanos,
it's me.
I thought that was a brilliant move for a couple different reasons. There's no way that they could have, the Russo brothers could have anticipated the Ant-Man in Thanos' butthole meme or theory, but effectively what they did with that, the whole movie leading up to the credits were teenagers, stoned teenagers behind me, loudly munching on popcorn and going, Ant-Man's gonna go in Thanos' butt, and laughing, and I'm like, oh, god damn it. Every time Ant-Man shrinks, those fucking kids are gonna make a big stink about it, right? Well, guess who didn't? Because they kill Thanos in the first 10 minutes. It was brilliant. So I didn't get those snot-nosed kids in back of me talking about Ant-Man, and it also kind of gets you on edge. It gets you on your toes. It makes you realize, okay, maybe you don't know what you're about to see. Maybe you don't. You're not prepared for what's going to happen. Maybe they're going to throw some more curveballs. The snap was such a big pop culture phenomenon, and I really do believe we'll look back on it as our generation's Luke, I Am Your Father. And I think I've said that in the podcast before, but even when they start off with Hawkeye, we finally see Hawkeye again. Huh?
I honestly agree with you 100% on that. I think that the 1-2 punch of these two movies as a whole, I think that maybe is for me what I was most not expecting, is that these two movies together are a fucking powerhouse of storytelling for me. I was expecting them both to be good. I didn't really expect that I would find that them if we look at these as a fucking 5-hour, one story being told. And I think that's the one thing that I understand why the Russos separated them. They made this big thing about it, but I feel these are very much this is one fucking full story that's being told. It's a long fucking story, but I think that opening with Hawkeye for me really just you're hit with it one more time on such a base human level that it's like,
and it's so important that you do.
Yes.
It's so important you revisit the
Yes.
devastation that you felt during that snap.
What about you, Ben? Is there anything you were like really something caught you off guard?
The thing that caught me off guard was it wasn't just the timing of the Thanos kill at the beginning, but it was also just the way and the line that comes immediately after. He's like, "Set him for the head," or whatever. He's just
yeah.
You know, and so it's just this very fast thing. And everybody in the theater is just like, what the fuck just happened? And then how immediately it's just like 5 years later.
And it's not even just immediately. They hit you hard. They go 5
years.
Wait.
Years.
Yeah. And you're like, oh,
but
fuck.
how
We're
fast
doing leftovers on this shit.
No. So, but how fast that transition happens from that, and that's what I was just like. I was like, okay. So they did exactly what they planned to do, which is subvert all the expectations of the movie and turn it into something completely different. And that's what I absolutely respected most about the movie. And it was
absolutely
they decided to turn it into its own thing. Then the second movie was completely different from the first movie. Now, I will be the first one to say, I liked the first Infinity Wars better than I liked this, and than I liked Endgame. Now,
I agree with that also.
I think that structurally, Infinity Wars was the more affecting movie to me. Now, I will say, I think that Endgame is more fun, more just kind of gleefully fun. But I
laughed more.
I laughed at
Ant-Man. I laughed more than a lot of comedies.
No, I laughed a shit ton, and I thought it was a super entertaining movie. But structurally, I thought that Infinity War had a bigger impact on me.
And that's funny. And
yes.
I felt, and this is where we are a little bit different on this. I definitely felt different in that I felt this as a whole. Well, also, it's not correct for me to say that because I viewed this much more as literally the second half of a movie that began.
It felt like a completely different movie to me.
And to me, it felt like this was the culmination of this first part for me. And that's I think that's where we are a little different. And so when I was kind of laying out things,
Team Benny,
things that I was liking in this movie, and I tried to put them in order of kind of like what I like most. The number one thing I put on here was Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, the screenwriters behind these movies. I think that the work that they did between these two films, including making sure that people that are in the first movie get screen time because they know they're not going to show up in the second movie, and how all of that fits together. The fact that the Guardians are a huge part of the first movie because they're not going to be involved at all in the second.
It's brilliant.
It's like juggling while also putting together a puzzle.
At the same time.
That's a great way to describe
juggling
it.
Rubik's cubes while solving them at the same time.
And my second to the writers was the acting, and I broke it down kind of by actor. But really, I think that not enough can be said about how difficult it is to write two films like this that these two guys did. And I hope they get the recognition for, I know people that dislike Marvel and the troll fanboys out there that just fucking want to shit on everything are going to find 1,000 things wrong with this. But
they finally gave us Pepper Potts in an Iron Man costume. Finally,
the shit they did in this is difficult. And I want to play some clips to kind of lead this a little bit. So where I say that, so I think you were maybe right in that there is more weight in the first movie, but I think it's that weight is very much carried over into this. And the first clip I want to play is Robert Downey Jr. probably giving to me the best performance he's given over the entire MCU in this movie. And it's mainly in his first major scene,
and his monologue.
Not his monologue when he's in the ship. It's when he gets back down on Earth, and it's this right here.
And I believe I remember telling Tony, live and otherwise, that what we needed was a suit of armor around the world. Remember that? Whether it impacted our precious freedoms or not. That's what we needed.
Well, that didn't work out, did it?
I said we'd lose. You said, we'll do that together too. And guess what, Cap? We lost. And you weren't there.
And there are moments like that happen all over this movie. And those were the moments that I really, when I talk about getting emotional over it. That is a moment that I got very emotional at to watch. I love the Tony Stark Captain America dynamic, and I love Tony coming back from this loss in space where he thinks he's going to die, and he's actually home, and he should be in a fucking good mood that Pepper hasn't been taken, and he's back with all the shit. But his first thing is this continued anger against Captain America and their struggle and their fight against one another, and that always hits me a lot in these movies. Now I see Ben is making some faces over here.
Well, no, I don't agree with that being one of the more impactful moments of the most impactful and the best performance. I think in my opinion,
get to that.
The best thing that when it comes to Robert Downey with his performance, I think when it has to deal with the fact that he has to reconcile the fact that he has a daughter and he has like a partner now, and where when he connects with his father which is later in the movie, which is played for humor, but somehow just undercuts and does everything in like this weird like Field of Dreams, like magical sense.
100% I agree with that.
It is, I find that way more effective. But then again, so
that only works though when you have this thing that happens in the beginning.
But not with Captain America. I don't agree with that. Here's my thing. I don't think that there was a misstep in the movie. There's nothing that feels like a huge like jump off to the left or right or something that jumps the shark.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, some people could say, "Oh, it was the misuse of Captain Marvel, where she just disappears and she reappears at a very convenient time."
Huge problems with Captain Marvel.
Well, so that's a very common complaint, I think, which I didn't necessarily have a problem with. But here's where I landed on the movie, is because I thought it was just great. Like I said, I was smiling ear to ear. I was laughing through the entire movie. I thought it was fantastic, and it was the most fan service I've ever seen paid in any single movie I've ever watched, and most of it was earned. Most of it was earned.
Yeah, that's a good way.
So meanwhile, we go back to the show we were just watching, Game of Thrones, which I said, I prefaced this earlier by saying it's had more hours of screen time than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so now people are complaining it's too fan servicey by allowing major characters to kill off. And so I think there's an interesting dichotomy here to bring into it. And this is the big thing I wanted to talk about. Everybody is giving Endgame a fucking pass for being as servicey as fucking possible because they earn the moments.
It's true.
I don't think that you can say that Game of Thrones hasn't earned the same fucking moments to allow major characters to do major things like that. Now, does it have the artfulness? Did the last 1 hour and 20-minute episode of the series that had 1/15 of the budget, including marketing budget, of what the Marvel movie had, there's no comparison. But I do find it interesting that these people who are shitting on Game of Thrones are mostly the same fans who are saying Endgame is the greatest fucking movie of all time when they're trying to do essentially the same thing.
I agree with you.
And that was my whole point. I
100% agree with you. And I think it's a very important thing to draw attention to. Because this is, by the way, the first time in a Marvel movie history where I've heard much less complaints about a Marvel movie than you normally hear.
Nobody here. I haven't heard a single person say
I think it got more of a pass than Game of Thrones. I think Game of Thrones.
It's the last one. No one wants to hate the last one.
This is, and that's all. I think you're also correct on that as well.
Part,
yeah. So for
we'll
you,
Nick,
it's not the last one. It's not the last one in either case.
For you, Nick,
in this saga, in this phase, it is. It's the end of an era.
So what are the things that didn't quite work for you in Endgame, Nick?
I had, just a preface, I think me and Ben, and you too, Matt, to a lesser extent, get us in a room for an hour. We could write a college course on the things that were sloppily written or the loopholes and time travel in both Game of Thrones and Avengers, right? But the thing is, they made some questionable choices throughout both Game of Thrones and Endgame. But the important decisions, the important choices were earned and were correct.
Agreed.
In my view. But there were two problematic characters for me in Endgame, and one is Captain Marvel.
Wait, who says the sexiest thing I've ever heard in my entire life?
Hey, Peter Parker. You got something for me?
I had to pull that clip because, goddamn, that's I don't know. That did something for me in a weird way in that movie, but continue.
Yeah, it's not that weird, buddy. I'm with you.
There is something super sexual about her delivery on that line. I don't think I'm alone in this.
Well, see, and you know what? I like she's showing a little more superhero flash there. She seems, in that line, that delivery, as Captain Marvel. She's really
very cold the rest of the movie,
which I like.
I kind of dig it.
I like that. I like that about her. I have less character complaints, like I did for her movie, her solo movie. And my big problem is the Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, which
I
shows up.
understand.
Yeah.
I understand why, right? When you have a character that suffers, it has a Superman problem, but the problem is when you have a character that is virtually unstoppable and not the villain, you have problems. The thing is, Superman has kryptonite, so that even Lex Luthor can kill Superman with a good plan.
Which is actually one of my favorite action points is when he just lodges the one power stone and punches her, and she goes fucking flying. I was just like, oh shit,
that was
like 2014 Thanos is about to fucking do a beatdown right now. I thought that was exciting.
Yeah, that 100% for me. So because I know,
but the thing is, here's the problem, though. I understand the plot device of well, if she's so powerful and she could stop all this if she was just present. If you were just present for the planning, maybe things could have gone differently, right? But she polices the whole galaxy. But I understand why, but it doesn't hold water because this is her home planet. He is not just devastating Earth. He snapped the.
While Nick cuts out for a second, let me just preface. Obviously,
sorry, Nick, you just got cut off by technology, and Ben rode over it.
I am limited by the technology of my time, just like Howard Stark.
Hold on one second, but before, obviously, we're assuming at this point anybody who is listening to this is watched the movie, but understanding the time anomaly and the people who are jumping back and forth through time, we are talking about an unprecedented unless you want to talk to Back to the Future 2, where we're talking about revisiting moments of a franchise that we've been watching for 11 years. I
want to get to that. Is that tying into the Captain Marvel thing?
Yes.
But wait. Let me just finish my thought, and I won't talk the rest of the episode. I promise. I have a problem with we don't really know what her powers are, Captain Marvel. Really. We don't know the extent. In 1 minute, she's coming out of nowhere after she said, you're probably not going to see me again.
She's Arya Stark.
And then we do see her. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Arya Stark
grows up to be Carol Danvers.
And then she gets headbutted by Thanos, and that's the last we hear from her for the rest of the movie. So we don't know what her weakness is. We don't know what the extent of her powers are.
Headbutts.
She's a problematic. We know everyone's limitations, and we know everyone's powers. We know everyone so well after watching all these movies. But we don't know hers.
Yeah, that's true.
There are some powers that are very nondescript in that universe. Doctor Strange.
Thor's drawbacks are Fortnite and beer.
Doctor Strange is one. Thor is another one. Scarlet Witch is another one. There are a lot of big players in this that have very kind of nondescript moments. And I think, if I'm going to make a really Kelly Conway spin doctor version of this, I'm going to say that's done on purpose so that we can they don't know their own powers, so they're learning this shit and whatever. But I think for me, the moment that made you
wanna be an Avenger,
the moment that sort of made it work for me with Captain Marvel. So she comes through the ship, she blows up the ship, she goes through all this stuff, she gets in this fist fight with Thanos, and she's completely winning the fight, right?
Yeah, she's
pulling the thing off, she's crunching his fingers back, and she's very cocky in that moment of being like, yeah, this is what I do. I fucking own shit. and then he pulls the Power Stone out with his bare hand and clocks her one with the Power Stone in his bare hand, just pure Power Stone to whatever she is. And we also don't know what Thanos' abilities are because they seem to be wildly divergent as well, that sometimes he can fight this person and that person, but he doesn't kill this person, but he doesn't, whatever. I think
basically we do though. We know that without any Infinity Stones or one, he can kick the shit out of the Hulk.
So why didn't Tony Stark die immediately when he was punched by Thanos? I mean, that's the same argument. I mean,
okay, but he
fights Tony Stark with the gauntlet. Like that,
no other character is as powerful as Captain Marvel, and no other character can just simply swoop in and out whenever it's convenient for the plot. That's what bugs me.
I'm just saying though that I think it applies to everything in this universe.
It's problematic across the entire universe.
That Tony Stark does not stand one chance against Thanos at the end of this movie when his fucking helmet is off and he gets punched by Thanos with the fucking Infinity Gauntlet. He should be dead. There should be no arc where Tony Stark
should be no head left.
He just done. His head flies off his body and he goes, I went for the head. And that's the end of the movie. And it's funny, but not funny. Like,
I understand what you're saying, but you get what I'm saying. She can come in and out whenever she wants.
I'm making a bad argument, which is saying that the rest of the movie is also problematic. So don't focus on the one other thing that's problematic. I know that's not a great argument.
The thing is, I love the movie, and I'm not. It didn't affect my enjoyment. But this is she is one of two problematic characters.
And it was funny because
the other one is Thor.
Yes, you're correct on that as well. Thor. And now I like the way they sort of explain Thor is that he
almost got there. They almost did it.
He's just not. His head is just not in the game for so long that he is not the god he once was. And yes, they make it into a joke.
I still love the scene between Thor and his mom, though. I mean, it's so well done.
It's the best scene.
Yeah, let me go.
But I don't think we're on the same page exactly. Like,
okay.
The reason that he is problematic for me is I love the idea of, I mean, think about it. If you're Thor, you had a chance to end it. You know,
yes,
and
you ruined the universe.
Yeah, for you're a god, you're a literal god. You had you defied all odds, making Stormbreaker. You're coming, you get smashed down Wakanda. The theater goes crazy. You have a chance to kill Thanos, and he gets a smart ass. You should have gone for the head, snaps, and it's your fault, essentially, right?
Yeah.
With an assist from Peter Quill, you live with that. And it fucks you up. You gain all this weight. You become an alcoholic, and it's all played for comedy, and a little bit of it is fine, and it was funny at first. I mean, especially when you think of all these girlfriends that got dragged to the theater, and the only reason they were happy to do it is a chiseled Hemsworth. But
Matt and I are both really concerned about where you're going.
I have a strong argument against this. I think where you're going with this. It could have been
poignant, you know, but they just made it one big fat joke. The entire movie.
Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not.
So I'm gonna, sorry. As much as I will prove that this was my argument ahead of time. So listen, Thor, what Hemsworth does. So like I said, I broke this down into writing, acting, and then great moments. Right, great moments in acting converged for me with Chris Hemsworth, who I felt just fucking
killed it.
Delivered on so many different levels that I don't think you get. So let me 100%. Play these two things back to back for you. So this scene literally happens back to back. The first is when we were introduced, and that was, by the way, the Marvel secret kept under the best wraps for me is that Thor has become Fat Thor or Dad Bod Thor, whatever you want to call it. The fact that was not at some point revealed to me, and I saw enough behind the scenes shit that was spoiled for me.
The fact that he was living with Meek and Korg.
Yeah. So this is his one of his
playing fucking Fortnite.
This is a part of his introduction. I'm going to play for you right.
Master 69.
Yeah, I'm going to. Oh, here you go, Nick.
Noob Master.
Yeah, Noob Master 69. Ridiculous.
Noob Master, hey, it's Thor again. You know, the god of thunder? Listen, buddy, if you don't log off this game immediately, I'm gonna fly over to your house, come down to that basement you're hiding in, rip off your arms, and shove them up your butt. Oh, that's right. Yes, go cry to your father, you little weasel.
Right, so we were met with Thor in Fat Thor suit, and it's funny as shit. and then Professor Hulk says the name Thanos, and I can't. This clip's not going to do you justice because part of it is just his facial reaction to it. But his delivery when he says this.
Just say that.
Yeah, we don't actually say that name in here.
Please take your hand off me. Now I know that guy might scare you. Why would I be scared of that guy? I'm the one who killed that guy, remember?
Avengers movie dips between some of the most heartfelt, dramatic work I've ever seen and super fucking funny, timed shit. All in the same stuff. And for me, that was, I get that a lot of people are going to boil it down to like, oh, it's fat Thor and that's what makes it funny. I'm like, no, it's fucking the fact that he was a god and he is now a fucking broken god. And we were seeing every part of the fucking god.
That's what I absolutely love about it. I wanted more of that. I wanted, they were on the precipice of really making a poignant sentiment about trauma and depression and what it would do to you, because it would do that. And to see a literal god.
I thought it was the most poignant thing in the movie.
Hold on. I just have to get this out, please. It's not Hemsworth's performance or how Hemsworth played it. Hemsworth played it great. It's how the other characters played the Thor. His supposed friends, his supposed family. It wasn't, oh my God, look at what all this has done to him. Is he okay? You know, I understand you're playing for laughs, but then throughout the entire movie, even at the end, to say like, I'll go eat a salad. It's like, don't you understand what he's been through? You said Thanos in his house and he broke down, he folded like a deck of cards. Don't you see how this has affected your friends? Hurt him.
It seems like the least problematic thing of the entire
fun of him for being fat.
Yeah, but the ones that make fun of him about it, it's War Machine makes a quip, Rocket makes a quip, Rocket makes a quip about fucking everybody.
Who makes fun
the
of
only
everybody.
one I'll give you credit for is Thor's mom, but it also is just a fucking mother being like, hey,
But
you
she
don't
says-
look good.
she's like,
Maybe eat a salad.
But he
Like,
even said, like, you don't look like my son.
You're not, like, she says it. The only ones that give him shit.
He's omnipotent.
Yeah, but the only ones that give him shit about it are people who are not his friends. Captain America doesn't make a fucking joke about his weight. Iron Man doesn't make a joke about his fucking weight. In fact, there's a moment, one of my favorite moments in the movie, and it's my favorite Paul Rudd bit of the entire thing. And I don't know if it was an off-screen reaction or whatever it is, but there is a 2.5 second reaction shot of Paul Rudd while Thor is talking about the ether. And he's showing Jane up on the screen. And he's like, well, I did this, but then they put the ether inside her and I had to do all this stuff. And they cut back to Paul Rudd. It's just literally 2.5 seconds of Paul Rudd going, yeah. He is totally engrossed in the story. Whereas everyone else is like, okay, Thor, you're like, we know you're dealing with some shit. Why don't you kind of calm it down? And like Tony Stark even says to him, like, let's get you some breakfast. You want some eggs?
Yeah.
He's like, I'd like a Bloody Mary. Like that's the closest you get to one of his true friends giving him shit. The rest of them don't actually give him shit. Rocket gives him shit because Rocket gives everyone fucking shit. And War Machine, it's a cheap joke.
I agree with Matt here. I think that Thor is actually the best part of Avengers Endgame, in my opinion.
I do also have to say,
it felt like this to me. This is what it felt like to me watching it. When I was in a writer's room or a sitcom, you write the episode and then one day was dedicated just to punch-ups. So there were areas that were kind of slow or just needed a laugh. And so for an entire day, you get around the table and you spitball one-liner jokes real fast, and the best ones make it in, and they just cram it in there so you get a little more laughs.
But here's the thing:
whenever there was the Thor,
I would believe that
there are three jokes about his weight.
Finish the thought, though, you guys.
But there are
you're
three
so right.
jokes about his weight.
I'm so wrong. I can't even finish my thought.
I thought you were done with your thought. I'm sorry, but all
I'm in the middle of a sentence, and like my microphone cut off again.
No, you stopped. You stopped for a second.
I have been running my mouth for the past 15 seconds nonstop. Maybe my microphone's stopping.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's cheap, and it wasn't that funny to keep going. I like the weight of it. When it worked for me is like, Matt, when you were moved, you proved my point. You played the parts that weren't filled with levity and fat jokes for whatever reason. The real the real meaning is that Thor is not the same Thor. He'll never be the same Thor again. In fact, now he's a Guardian.
But like I said, the only problem I have with that is there are literally 2 explicit jokes made about his weight. One is Rocket saying you look like melted ice cream, and one is War Machine when he goes, "Do you know what's throwing through my veins?" He goes, "Cheese whiz." Those are the 2 oblique fat jokes.
They expect the audience to make the jokes for you,
and eat the salad. Like I said, the only one that you can ring a little bit truth for is eat the salad. But I'll be honest, my mom's told me to fucking eat a salad before, totally in character for herself. It's not. You
didn't cause half the population to die.
Nick, it's such a strange thing for you to catch up on, man. Because ultimately, Thor is such a well-written character in the context of the story. I just don't understand why it's such a hang-up.
The other problem, the other thing I gotta say is that Thor is also very much my and Ben Wilson's avatar god, including. Tell me this interaction would not happen between the 2 of us, either one of us, if being asked on it.
There's beer on the ship.
And what kind?
There are little moments like that. I really just I understand there was a lot of pushback against it being like, well, they're making fat jokes and it's making fun of fat people and it's making fun of whatever, and I'm like. To me,
he's a drunk and he's fat, all right, we get it. We know.
Me, it very much felt like it was a broken. What happens when a god is broken?
Yes.
And what I also
make jokes about him throughout the entire movie.
I literally just told you they made 2. I've watched this movie twice in the theater, and I'll be honest, 2 more times on my own devices. They make
all the feds.
They make 2 fucking jokes about it, other than the mom saying "eat a salad," which I don't include into it. The rest of it's all on there. And look, I think
just stop.
What are you? Are you William Barring this? You're just going to redact the?
No, I think
it's your point of view. But all I'm saying is they spent a lot of time making him.
They made 2 jokes in a 3-hour movie about his weight. And he's the guy that's the most ripped of the Marvel universe. So I think they showed restraint.
And he's fat for 2/3 of the movie, and they barely ever mention it.
By the way,
and by the way, he's fat continuously, including in the entire fucking finale of the movie. And when he's using all of his power, and he's fat, and they don't even fucking mention it.
And he's buzzed. By the way, also after he uses his power,
that's my point.
By the way, when he becomes the Asgardian. The Asgardian of the galaxy.
From the guy who's never been fat before.
No, that's not fair.
I'm just fucking with you.
How dare you? I'm just fucking with you. That was a weird flex, man. Nick, don't pay
I
attention
shopped
to that.
The husky section when I was a child.
Yes, of course you did.
Don't you dare. No, look.
I hate the breed of dog because it brings back bad memories.
That's a good
My mama
gag.
go, we got to get ready for school. School time's here. Let's go to the husky section.
I think what made it work for me is that there was no montage or no training or anything.
Oh, exactly.
He ends by the way, and after
which
Thanos
is actually a lot more. That's a lot more emasculating when you have that type of shit that happens.
When Thanos is defeated and he turns everything over to Valkyrie. And by the way, Valkyrie riding the Pegasus through that last battle is fucking amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Amazing. But I like that he is still in his state, going on with the Guardians of the Galaxy, so that it's more of like he's growing up and he's figuring out what's going on. But this wasn't necessarily the emblematic thing of his depression.
And that's what I expected to happen. And that's why I liked it didn't happen, is the fact that I thought as soon as he had that moment with his mother, that he was going to...
he's going to all of a sudden lose his shit. Yeah.
Warp back, and he's going to all of a sudden be this huge fucking muscular body. And all of a sudden, he's not. He's in the last battle, and he's got this fucking gut. And I was just like, holy fuck. He's he's a real dude.
So I want to make sure we talk about a couple of things in this before we close this out.
You guys are just proving Ben's point about Marvel fanboys love this movie so much. There's nothing wrong with it, and I'm not saying it's a unforgivable sin. I'm saying it's problematic because
I understand that.
The joke is.
I think the PTSD thing is a lot bigger than the weight thing, man.
Let Nick talk.
It goes hand in hand. And the joke, when it's funny, is the first reveal. It's never as funny as the first reveal. Okay? After that, you move on. You don't need fat jokes or booze jokes. It's just like we know. I would have made a slightly different choice, and I think there's plenty of humor in this whole movie. I think the humor isn't in how far Thor has spiraled out of control. It's actually sad and poignant. I would lean more in that direction than making any jokes after the initial scene.
No,
That's all I'm saying.
And like I said, I think like I said, having watched this several times now, I think you should watch it again, because I think those jokes are happening far fewer than you are making them happen in your mind watching it. Yes, there are camera angles that gravitate towards his gut, right? And there are things, but the idea that other people are making fun of him is actually not played as much as you think. And most of the time, it's more playing on his mental state is not there, which is what happened when he's doing the whole thing about the ether, which is actually really right. It's really funny with Scott Lang's reaction to it. But Stark's thing is like, okay, hey, calm down, just stop, like slow down, everything's okay. Can we get you some eggs? Can we get you some like food? And literally not making a fat joke, just being like, maybe we need more food in you than alcohol at this point, because you seem like you're a little bit unhinged. I think there is much more of a care for Thor as a character in that movie that I think is lost on the fact that, yes, it is fucking funny to watch Chris Hemsworth with a gut. It is funny. It is funny because we know who Chris Hemsworth is. We know who Thor is. We know that Thor is. We're conditioned.
We're not watching just Friends.
But I really want to focus on a couple of other performances and writing bits in this movie as well that I don't think are going to get as much play as Hemsworth. And by the way, he deserves it. He really delivers such a nuanced performance. But I want to draw attention to a couple of things. One is Karen Gillan as Nebula has maybe
my MVP of the whole Infinity.
The most phenomenal arc, easily the most phenomenal female arc in all of the MCU, and maybe one of the more complex and amazing arcs of anyone in it. And she delivers such a nuanced delivery of performance from her first scene where she's playing football with Tony Stark as he's about to die. She's fine, she's an android, but she's having fun. He literally goes, "Did you have fun?" And you can see the gears turning in her head of like, she's never been asked that question, did she have fun? And she doesn't know, has she ever actually had fun? Like, there are a lot of little moments with her that build through a very complex story.
She was great.
I thought Karen Gillan just fucking destroyed in that movie. And then the other, I think Paul Rudd has a couple of amazing bits. He does some amazing comedy in it.
Mm-hmm.
I really like his 2.5 second cutaway listening to Thor is my favorite Rudd moment in the movie. But Chris Evans is somebody we really need to talk about in this movie. And, he is in next to Hawkeye, maybe the most thankless role in the MCU for a major, major character. He has the hardest time because he is the only character that's just a fucking good guy that's always trying to be a good guy at every step of the way. And that's not always the most exciting thing to watch. They've done a great job building him up through the movies. But I think in this movie, they really give him so much to work with. And he has so many fucking boss moments in this movie, whether it is him the first time getting Thor's hammer, which
when he wields, I mean that I would consider that the biggest fan service, like hell yeah moment of the when all of a sudden he gets and then pulls the shield up, and I'm just like, oh,
there was a
fuck me.
So last year Ben Wilson got very verbal during a Thor moment in the movie theater. There was a guy behind us that was Ben Wilson times 100, that when Captain America got the Thor hammer, this guy literally, I don't know that he made it out of that theater alive. He literally lost his shit so hardcore that people were like there was commotion about this guy. He was just like, oh my God. Like, just this amazing thing. It is a great moment. And there are a bunch of them for Captain America in different ways. And I love that moment, but if I'm going to pick my favorite, I think it's Captain America fighting himself. And the other Captain America goes, I could do this all day. And he's like, yeah, I know. I know. And that is such fan service, but is also just, I love the older Cap versus the younger idealistic Cap. Being like, okay, you got to fucking knock it off with this stupid shit. Like, it's so obnoxious to him that completely works for me.
Can I say one of the reasons why I have to see the movie again in the theater is because seeing it on opening night like that with that type of crowd, everyone was laughing over half of the lines.
Yes.
I mean, I was watching on big screen. Well, like everyone was laughing the entire time.
I had one moment that made me laugh harder than anything in the movie. Ben, what was your favorite laugh moment in the movie?
I would say probably the biggest laugh. I did think the whole Thor thing at the beginning was kind of funny, but I would say the biggest, like, straight up laugh. Oh, that's actually tough.
Okay,
I have to think about that for a little bit.
But Nick, do you have a moment that made you laugh harder than anything else?
I mean, I had not thought about that in preparation for this podcast. I could have come up with it, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I do remember laughing more than I expected to. I remember thinking, like, man, like, I'm laughing more at this than an Ant-Man film. I'm laughing more at this than Ragnarok.
Yes.
I laughed more
at
this one.
No, and there,
especially at the Thor fat jokes.
No,
hilarious.
Listen, I laughed at all of those jokes. My belly shook like a bowl full of jelly. But
oh god.
Anyway,
and then you went down a chimney and delivered joy to
damn straight
Santa Claus metaphor.
So there's one line that the first time I saw the movie, it definitely got laughed over, and I kind of missed it, but it made me laugh hard. The second time I saw it, I really heard it, and it made me laugh even harder. And oddly enough, it's literally he has one line in the movie, and it's Peter Quill. And so there are two things that made my first showing of this movie.
You're a Chris Pratt bitch.
No. That made my first reading of this movie super funny. So when Cap gets the call from Falcon and he says, on your left. And we start to get to our reintroduction to all of the heroes. Everybody gets fucking applause. This is a Thursday night showing, by the way, 8:30.
Yeah. So Spider-Man swings in, fucking Guardians of the Galaxy come in.
No. Up to, but not including Star-Lord. So Drax and Mantis show up first in that one. Huge applause. Star-Lord lands and everyone goes, and you can just hear fucking.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man comes in right after Star-Lord and everyone fucking loses their shit. Like, everyone turned their back on Star-Lord so quick in the fan community. It made me really, really laugh. But Quill has my favorite gag in it. And to me, as a Pratt fanboy, this sounds like a Pratt ad-lib to me. It might have been written, but he goes up to Gamora, who he thinks is his Gamora. He doesn't know that it's the one. And she knees him in the crotch twice. Yeah. And this is the reaction, and it fucking slays me.
You missed the first time. Then you got them both the second time.
I don't know why, but the idea of him just taking the time to be like, you missed my ball. You missed kicking me in the crotch first time.
Yeah.
But you got both of them the second time. Yeah. That is such just a pure Quill moment. I love it. So I want to.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap.
We are late, but I kind of want to very quick. We talked about the fan service, but for you guys, what was your favorite part of the MCU callback from these movies that you were most excited to see again?
The entire movie was an MCU callback.
But I mean, there's a lot of moments in it. But Nick, is there a specific moment
Back to the
you
Future
were
Part
happy?
2, you just revisit all of them.
Yeah, but there's a moment, the ooh la la scene in Back to the Future 2 is more interesting than some of the other things you visit. For you, Nick, what was your most impressive part to revisit?
I mean, I should have been like Trump and demanded these questions in writing ahead of time, and then I could have been prepared. I guess the number one thing that comes back, and it's not my final answer because I would need more time to think about it, but actually seeing instant kill mode on the Scarlet Spider suit was pretty fun for me as a Spidey fanboy.
That was pretty awesome.
I think the joke was going to be that you never got to see that because there'd never be a situation where Spider-Man would want to kill the people he was fighting. But this was a scenario that worked.
And as soon as he was spent, he's met with...
Hey, Peter Parker. You got something for me?
Yeah.
God damn, that's the hottest thing ever.
Jesus. There's so much to unpack there. Do you see yourself as a young Peter Parker?
No,
like
I don't.
The older woman, younger guy
Nick,
thing? Is it more of a comic
Nick,
thing?
I only wish Captain Marvel would look at me like I was Peter Parker. That's what I'm feeling watching that. That delivery just says, God damn, that kid was lucky to be bit by that spider. Whew. That's better than Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy combined. It's Captain Marvel. She's my thing. That short hair. Whew. So for you, Ben, do you have
Nebula,
any
all the
like?
way.
I do. I think Nebula really is one of the most underrated in this movie. And by the way, here's
in every Guardians movie and in both of these last two, she is seriously MVP.
And
she might be the best actor in the MCU next to
and you might be right. And here's how stacked these movies are. Bruce Banner is delivering not Bruce Banner, but the actor
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo playing Bruce Banner is delivering a fucking amazing performance. And we have Scarlett Johansson and Jeremy Renner. Renner especially, actually, delivering one of the hardest
Ronan.
bits.
I mean, he's the Ronan.
And I mean, making him the anchor is also just such a smart job on the screenwriters to utilize his potential. The fact that the first thing that happens when the second snap is the phone call from his wife. Yep. And it's his reaction. That phone call is such a powerful,
powerful
moment. Like they really, really utilized everyone well.
But do your phones disintegrate too?
That
Scar would have been out of battery by then.
ScarJo is probably the most criminally underrated person in the entire series, I think, because she's done such a serviceable job. As far as the movie is concerned, though, if there was something that surprised me or something that...
Oh, Matt!
Uh-oh.
Matt, I know what I wanted to talk about. Remember when I was making a joke about how when Thanos snaps, you hear a snap sound, that wouldn't be what two metal fingers hitting each other would sound like? And is he using the reality stone to make the snap sound effect? They snap so many times in this. When he snaps at the very finale, when Tony Stark steals the Infinity Stones, and he snaps. You hear the clank.
Yeah, nice.
I think that pretty much confirmed that he used the reality stone for the sound effect.
Good job.
It's confirmed.
Nice. I think that's a good wrap-up,
Reality's
actually.
often disappointing, but it wasn't in this one,
That's a good wrap-up.
Good job. Look, I think I want to give kind of final thoughts. And I think you're touching on something, by the way, that leads into what you wanted to talk about, which is what is the future of this series and how does this interact to it.
I think at this point we need a whole fucking podcast.
No, and we might, but I think Scarlett does an amazing job in this, and I think most of that comes out of the little bit that Joss Whedon fought for in Age of Ultron, where we see her backstory. But I love the idea that I think Black Widow's storyline is only going to get better based on this prequel movie we're going to get with her. I think it is going to flesh out her arc even better. What did you say?
Especially if they cast Emma Watson.
And she's supposedly she's in it. Her and David Harbour and Rachel Weisz and some other people.
Wow.
But sort of like.
You cut out. You cut out. You're cutting out. Don't talk. Don't talk anymore. You cut out. You cut out. We missed everything you just said. You said sort of like
Arya.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Like Arya, she has a kind of a checkered past.
Yes.
Did some questionable things, and she knows out of everyone she has to pay the penance. You know.
Yep.
Hawkeye has a family and all that. She knew she had to be the one to go, and I think that was a fitting end. You shouldn't get that red off her ledger, you know. And this is sort of her getting that red off her ledger. Whereas the arcs I thought were funny is Captain America's always been selfless. He went an arc from selfless to selfish in a good way, and Tony went from selfish to selfless.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and
always been on a different frequency. They love each other like brothers, but brothers that fight all the time.
No, and you're right, and that's exactly where I wanted to end on this. I really wanted to end on Captain America with this. I really feel that they did such a justice to his storyline, and I really want to play this moment by Chris Evans at the very end of the movie that leads into the final shot. This fucking killed me more than anything else in the movie, and it's not necessarily a sad moment, but it's wonderful. But I want to play this clip.
You want to tell me about her?
No. No, I don't think I will.
I love the idea that Cap's gone and lived this life that he's always been told to do, that he's never been allowed to, and he keeps this one fucking bit for himself from this guy, and then we end on the shot of him dancing with Peggy Carter back in the past, and to me, it was such a... It makes me choke up right now, I'll be honest. Sure. It really, really affected me more than Tony Stark giving his life, more than a lot of the other things that happened there. The idea to see Cap finally fucking live his life and see this moment that's what I think a movie like this does so well, is that there is grief and there is joy and there are all these things happening at the same time in it. And you're laughing and you're feeling for these characters. But I love... and it was not at all how I would have written it. I mean, we talked about this a year ago where I said that I said, I think Tony Stark lives and he becomes
but like, time to
Shield.
Go. All right, we don't care. Turn to go. Turn it off.
No,
I don't care.
I think
Write your blog.
We had talked about the idea of having Tony Stark become Nick Fury and that Captain America would die and this would happen. I think allowing both of those things to kind of happen where both of them are phased out. So I have one final question, Ben. I know you're itching to get out of here. My one final question for everyone is, where do we go from here? Because I really feel they actually
that's such a long question.
No.
We should pause that for the next podcast.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying in general. I think they took a big risk the way that they tied this up, and that it very much felt like a conclusion. And I think the future of MCU is not as interconnected as it has been.
Like I told you, I said this in the last franchise podcast. I feel like there's going to be a huge paradigm shift.
Yes.
And I feel like Feige is going to remove himself at some point. And I feel like there's going to be a brand new guard, and they're going to come in with a brand new thing. And I have no idea.
Watch the sun come up on a grateful
I have no idea. I have no idea what that's going to be. I have no idea what that's going to be, but I think it's going to happen.
Do you think it'll involve Feige in a fat suit? So that we can determine he only makes fat superheroes now.
Yep.
So it's like,
that was
CGI. Listen, I think this is a great discussion. As I said, I thought we would have a long time on here. I think we did it. I think we accomplished it. I hope you guys out there enjoyed hearing us jar about these movies. We would love to hear back from any of you. If you guys want to call in next week and talk about these movies with us or this TV show with us, we are more than game to have you on here. We're talking to you, Ryan. We're talking to you, Rick Bedoya. We're on it. And also, let's have a big round of applause for our compatriot coming back to the fold, Mr. Nick Santacroce. And he didn't gain a single pound. There's Nick Santacroce in the same size 18 pants that he's always in.
And he can still fit into that Spider-Man suit. That's the way I like him.
I love you 3000.
I love you 3000. Thank you guys so much for listening to the New Way podcast. We hope to talk to you next time about, I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but
we'll talk about it.
But we're going to talk about it, and you're going to enjoy it. And if you don't,
it'll be fun.
You don't like fat people.
All right.
So, cheers. Thanks, Nick. Oh, thanks, Nick.
I'm here.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
Ben's already trying to get out of the room. I'm going to just keep on with you while he tries to get out of the room.
Matt, one thing that I wanted so badly to connect and couldn't connect in time was that the Wolverine podcast is called The Long Night.
Oh, really?
And I wanted to connect that there, but it just didn't work out with the flow. But I really, dude, I really think that you of all people would enjoy this podcast. It is pure radio theater.
Well, I'm gonna
so fun.
I'm gonna include this plug on this podcast, and I'm gonna tune into The Long Night and check it out for sure.
Yeah, there's a second season right now on Stitcher that you got to pay for, and the first one is free on iTunes.
Nice.
It's really worth it. The second is substantially better though. Like,
even better. I'm totally on board with that. You're cutting out.
I think you'll like it.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Nick. We appreciate it.
All right, I'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right, cheers.